Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another album review. Today I'm going to be looking at the first solo album release from The National's Matt Berninger. This one's called Serpentine Prison. The band has been together for about 20 years now, making a lot of albums that I absolutely love. So lots of us fans of The National have been waiting patiently for Matt to put some sort of solo album out. I will say that I was hesitant to have my expectations set too high, just because I believe that the entire band is crucial to the beautiful music that is written and recorded by The National. I do think that I was right in a way. This album doesn't really blow me away, but it's still a pretty impressive release for Matt. And part of my issue with the album might just be because I'm such a fan of The National that I wanted more of the same. And this is an album that gives a little bit of the same types of vibes that you get from The National, but also kind of wanders off into its own direction. And sometimes that direction just doesn't feel like the best fit for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this in the future. But with that, let's get right into the review. So the album opens up with the song My Eyes Are T-Shirts. And I do like this song. It's nice and relaxed, and it's very subdued, which I think fits the mold kind of for an opening track for an album. You know, it's a nice relaxed feel that just kind of floats right into the next song, which is Distant Axis. Now, this was a song that I really fell in love with at first, but I have to say it's kind of starting to grate on me just a little bit. I really like the euphoric feel in the choruses, and I like that Matt goes up and hits that upper register in his vocals, which is pretty rare for him, but it's also very satisfying whenever he does do that. But the song suffers from a bit of a repetitive nature, and it starts to grow stale on me pretty quickly as I'm listening to it over the past few weeks. And this is actually an issue that I found with several of the songs on the album, and I'll be sure to talk about those coming up. So Distant Axis flows into the next song, One More Second, which is one of my favorites on the album. The singing is very expressive and emotional from Matt, and I do think there's some pretty neat drumming that goes on about halfway through the song. And you know, some of those hits on the offbeats sort of spice things up a little bit and change up the feel of the song, but like the last song, it just suffers a bit by being too repetitive. And unfortunately, the next one is another song that I just don't care for too much. Loved So Little, you know, it's got a nice moody chorus that I think is the highlight, but apart from that and apart from the end jam, I don't think there's really much to distinguish this song and make it really stand out. So yeah, nothing really special for me up to this point in the album, and even the next song, Silver Springs, just fails to really strike any kind of chord with me. Gail Ann Dorsey's rich and beautiful voice provides a different texture musically on this song, but apart from that, it's another pretty boring song. So yeah, that's about halfway through the album, and you know, nothing at this point really stood out to me. Most of the songs I found the same issue with. I felt that they were too repetitive. I felt that they were pretty boring musically, and I just didn't think there was very much to make them stand out or make them anything truly special or worth being on an album. Luckily, things turn around with the next song, Oh Dearie, which is probably my favorite song on the album. And actually with these next few songs, I would say that there's a couple that would contend to be my favorite on the album, because I think the second half of this album is way superior to the first. So Oh Dearie to me sounds a bit more like something off of the National catalog, which is a really good thing in my opinion. For Matt to sound like the band that he's in that I absolutely love, I'll take it. And I really love Matt's vocals at the end, where he kind of switches up the chorus and goes up an octave with the melody. And again, you know, it's pretty rare that Matt hits this upper register of his voice, but when he does do it, it's a very special and tender feeling. And it really makes for an emotional listen when you can hear him pushing into that territory of his vocal range. Take Me Out of Town is another song that reminds me of The National, and in particular, it reminds me of High Violet. I love the horns that make an entrance in the song about halfway through it. This is another favorite song of mine. It didn't start out that way. Like, I wasn't huge on this song when I first listened to it, but it's really grown on me quite a bit, and like I said, it's one of my favorites. On the next one, Collar of Your Shirt brings something different to the table by giving us a taste of a bluesy side in Matt's voice for the first time. And there's parts of the song that remind me a lot of the Black Keys actually, especially in Matt's voice and the way that he's singing and expressing. And another thing that I want to add about this song is the beautiful strings that I think accompany the electric guitar very nicely. And I think the two sets of instruments just blend really beautifully. The next one, All for Nothing, is another good song. There's a really nice build before the end of the song. You know, there's a beautiful chord progression and a very pretty melody by Matt. And I think that the density of the instruments in particular on this song is something special. And again, it reminds me of High Violet, just in that musical density and how well everything blends together. So yeah, 4 excellent songs to close out the album, in my opinion. But then you get to this last song, which is the title track, Serpentine Prison. And for me, it's really a low point and a weak spot on the album. In my opinion, a poor choice to close the album with. To me, the lyrics are just so forced and cheesy. I mean, it feels like Matt came up with the album name and then decided, oh, hey, I gotta write a song about this. Let me try to write a song in an hour. And he just tries to come up with so many phrases that end with a rhyme to the word prison. And he's like, I've seen a vision, Serpentine Prison, car crash collision, McGregor submission. And I don't know, maybe the lyrics actually mean something, but to me it just sounds like a bunch of nonsense that he's trying to make a rhyme for the sake of rhyme. I do think it's a pretty nice chord progression and a nice vocal melody, but it's just got those really cheesy lyrics, and this song just suffers the worst from being way too repetitive. You know, there's a few songs on this album that suffer from that issue, but this is a song that has no business being over 4 minutes long. So yeah, I mean, there's that stretch at the end of like 4 songs that I've really, really enjoyed. And there's some really exciting moments on this album, but it's such a mixed bag for me at times. But yeah, those 4 songs at the end get me excited and ready to hear how Matt is going to evolve for his next solo album. And then there's those songs on this album that just make me wonder why. I feel like some songs on this album just don't really belong because they suffer from some serious musical problems, to be honest. And some of these issues are like music 101 types of things. You know, don't repeat yourself too much. And if you're going to repeat yourself, have some kind of variation in what you're repeating. You know, try to avoid generic lyrics. And some of the instrumentals just feel kind of uninspired for me. I think I'm a little biased because I've always loved Matt's voice, and I obviously love his stuff with the National. So, I think I rate this a 7 out of 10, but I think that's pretty generous on my part, being that there's really only 4 songs on the entire album that I find really, really special, and then a big handful of the remaining songs I think could just be throwaway tracks. But let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this album. I'm really curious to hear what some other perspectives are in terms of do people like it? Do you guys not like it? I'm curious what you expected from Matt in terms of a solo release, and if your expectations were met. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more videos like this. And also let me know in the comments what albums you guys think I should be listening to next and reviewing next. And with that, I will see you guys for the next review. Thanks.